like a gorilla does. It's over. Something in my head just starts screaming it's over. It knows you've seen it. It's not just being territorial. It's circling like a predator. It is a predator. That feeling hadn't been one of fear, but of impending predation. Somehow, the lower parts of our subconscious had known what was going on long before we did. In any case, we ran back to the fire, popped the dry grass on top and waited for the smell to recede. It didn't. It was close, very close, and this time it wasn't moving. So we pushed out, and got in the trunk of JD's car, and listened as it passed behind the front of his car back into the trees. In a burst of brilliance, I decide that we either make the 3-mile run, through dark countryside to the gas station, and pray the lights are on. Or, we build a fire big enough that one of the farmers or someone driving the main road can see it. We end up deciding that sprinting 3 miles through dark countryside, guns on our backs, could at the worst get us devoured by him or shot by a terrified farmer. So, we do the next best thing. I pull a fucking small tree out of the ground. I'm not talking about a bush, I'm talking a small 8 to 9 foot tree. It's amazing what adrenaline can do for you, so much adrenaline where your facial muscles are drawn tight, and your eyes dilate to being nearly black, JD's description of my face. In any case, the fire burns bright, very bright, after a while and he retreats further into the woods. This fucking tree burned a long ass time. Eventually, maybe 30 minutes after throwing the tree on the fire, 3 lifted trucks come barreling down the road and fly into the gravel parking area. The first truck had an obscene amount of those off-road lights on the bull bar and roof, which lit up the whole glade like the fucking sun. The smell almost goes away entirely, still there, but almost imperceptible. No one gets out of the first truck. A man wearing a National Guard t-shirt and ACU pants hops out of the second truck with his hand on his hip, concealed pistol. He questions us for about 10 minutes, makes us disarm, clear our chambers, and set our rifles in JD's car. He tells us there's a burn ban, we shouldn't be out here fucking around, etc. etc. We explain our car died when we came out hunting, and made that as a signal fire. He just looks at us strangely at the word hunting. Walks back to truck number 1, comes back, tells us not to come back there unless we have all of our ducks in a row. Truck 3 drives over and a man hops out to jumpstart our car. I shake his hand and thank him profusely, and he gives me a worried, but sympathetic look. He doesn't say much but walks back to his truck and drives away. Truck 2 drives away shortly thereafter. We've got all of our shit packed up, truck 1's window rolls down and a rather fat man in a polo calls me and JD over. There's no boar here, boys. If you're hunting for boar you best be looking further on down the road. At least on the other end of, county redacted. Bullshit, tons of boar in there. But I don't say that. I'm not going to mouth off to the hillbilly militia that just saved my life. So I thank him for his advice. JD and I get back in his car, debating whether he had gone away with all the commotion. Just as soon as Fatty MC light bar had pulled out, the smell returned yet again. Nope. We're out. Hop on the gravel road, drive to the highway, drive past a few farms, and make our way towards the western border of, county redacted. We notice we're being followed by a small white Honda. Guess who's sitting in the front seats? Fatty McLightbar and hillbilly militiamen. They follow us all the way out of that county, then turn around. So ends my experience. It's hard to get green text to express emotion, the exact description of the smell, or the fucking primal fear we felt. I wrote an after-action report of sorts the morning after that hunt, but haven't been able to find it after I moved, hence the green text. In any case, I've debated going back with more than 2 people to hunt him, but I'd like to know what exactly I was dealing with. This is of course, not touching the fact that the hillbilly militia patrol seemed to know more than they were letting on. Ideas, X-Files? Alright, here goes. Not gonna pre-write because fuck that noise. Have dad that lives in the middle of the Ozark Mountains, stay with him for a few weeks to a month every summer. Mom has custody, but she and dad are on good terms. House isn't great made, but he made a lot of the furniture out of local cedar and he's a pretty skilled carpenter/engineer type. Has his own sawmill and woodshop that we, brother was with me, used to make candlesticks and tables and things when we got older. House had this little screen wall porch, important later, on the side 90 degrees away from the door. It has a sliding door, but it's busted so you have to walk about 20 feet around the house each time you want to go in or come out. Anyway. Be 11 to 12. Few days left until we go home to mom's, excited to go home and play vidya. It's night time. Me and bro's bedroom is on second floor, only window has good view of front yard, trees to left and right, driveway and road to front. Trying to fall asleep, but too excited. Hear dad and stepmom talking downstairs, which is weird cause they're always asleep by 10ish. Front door opening. Wave. This is weird. Look out window, see dad walk out with a flashlight in his old double barrel, don't know model, sorry commandos. Goes to leftmost tree line and shines light here and there. Debate waking brother up about this, but he gets pissy real easy. Hear gunshot and nearly shit myself whipping back to window. Look back in time to see dad thumb another shell into the breech. Whatever he was doing, he wanted 2 shots at the ready. So nervous I actually hear the clack of the gun. See him walk backwards all the way to house, trying to hold his gun and flashlight up at same time. It was one of those big clunk fucking ones that use the massive battery. He makes it uneventfully, I'm too wired to fall back asleep. Next few days, he seems weird and more quiet than usual, doesn't want to do. Left a few days later and I was too chicken shit to ask him about it. The next year we visited, though, things were different. Around the house. Drive up to his house. Rode there with a half-grown English Mastiff taking up 80% of the back seat. Friendly enough to us, but slobbery. Finally make it around late afternoon, suddenly. Lights. Fucking everywhere. Floodlights at each corner of the house. Lights on posts. Goddamn Christmas lights strung up around the outside. Honest to God watchtowers set up on 3 sides of the house. Sawmill's been moved. New platform on top of the wood shop. 4 or 5 new guns, all high-powered rifles. Again, no model because I was a kid. All I have now is a 780L for deer hunting. My fuck, there's even a concrete bunker. It's /K/wet dream. In before fake, I shit you not, my dad's place is still set up like this. It was in the days before camera phones, early 2000s, and it never occurred to me to take pictures of his shame until now. Ask him what it's all for. Platforms, deer stands, 4 of them? All within 200 feet of the house. Bunker, auto maintenance, nice roof on your auto maintenance pit. The lights, to make the place more cheery, or to blind commercial aircraft. The dogs and guns, to keep weirdos off the property. The ways he answered my questions still bugs me. They sounded 100% rehearsed. Anyway, thanks for reading past all the expository bullshit. Needed to set the stage for next post. Right. Now for the shit my dad doesn't like talking about. Go to bed that night, there's a new heavy curtain on the window. Why? Because the lights are always on. Wake up that night to a gunshot, look outside. My eyes.jpg. See dad on one of the deer stands, working the bolt on one of his new guns. Something's up. Next morning he's practically vegetative. Ask him about last night. Trying to get us a deer to barbecue. Shrug.gif. Ask if I can go outside and play. He thinks for a moment and says yes, but not to go off into the woods. Super intense eyes when he said that last thing, despite being raccoon-eyed. Go outside, make a beeline for the stand he was on last night. Feet clink on pile of .30 shells. If you've been doing your math, all the new gear plus those expensive ass rounds should be adding up to quite a sum. His job's not terrible, but that crap must have been expensive. Fast forward a few days. Dad got a pig from one of his neighbors, closest one is at least 5 miles in any direction, and we spent the day learning to barbecue properly. Dad has the shotty on standby and Fonzie, his old German Shepherd, nearby the entire time. That evening we're all sitting on the screen porch, licking our fingers when Fonzie starts barking his head off, staring at the ravine behind the house. The dogs on the other side start barking and growling too. Dad starts up and nearly knocks the plate off his lap. He grabs the gun and stares down the ravine. Cat, take the boys inside. Suddenly hear sound of branches snapping from trees near the bunker. We're being flanked. Brother and I are swapping nervous glances, just about pissing ourselves. Without a word, Dad hands Cat Fonzie's leash and takes the rear while she leads us inside. Once inside the greenhouse it's straight shot to the door and the 6 of us go in. Dad grabs a flashlight, a new gun, and a bug-out bag filled with rounds and goes outside with Fonzie. Cat tries to keep us entertained with a stash of old kids' tapes, but neither of us are interested. Brother wants to go out and help Dad. I'm pissing my britches. For about half an hour it's nothing but gunshots, growling, and the occasional yell from Dad. The window-mounted AC is running and there's a weird smell to the air. Old barbecue, gun smoke, and something absolutely awful. Not trying to copy OP, but it's almost exactly how he put it. Rank horse sweat mixed with something like old manure and hot death and stale piss. Cat decides to risk it and opens the door to see what's going on. When she does, the house is immediately flooded with the stench. She shouts out to him, he barks back, keep that closed. She keeps that closed. Eventually bodily needs overcome fear and I walk off to the bathroom. It's set on the wall that faces the ravine. This next bit's gonna sound seriously fake, but it's the reason I keep all my windows covered to this day. As I'm shitting, I look up at the bathroom mirror. Something in the reflection looks back at me. It's illuminated by the light from inside and outside, so I get a better look at it than I ever would have wanted to. Bullet-shaped head, but not in the traditional sense. Stand a 9mm round on its base and you get the idea. Rough gray-red fur with a forward-facing whirl, that little swirly thing on the back of your head, and what looks like a /part/ on one side. Eyes? Fuck me, the eyes are the absolute worst, just no thank you. Its face is sort of lopsided, but the nose is large and squashed, the mouth is hanging open a little and the teeth are sort of tombstone-shaped and cruddy. My butthole nearly explodes from the sheer force of my fear shits. I just sit, shit and stare at the thing's reflection, my mind failing to change gears. Then it leans forward and I hear the clunk of its face hitting the glass above my head. The new source of input recalibrates my brain, it realizes that this thing is right the fuck behind me. I start wailing like a banshee, hear the thing gurgle through the glass. Flail sprint my way through the bathroom door, trip on my pants, still around my ankles, and get a chunk of wood from the kitchen's shitty particle board floor lodged in my knee. Too scared to feel pain or embarrassment, Cat and brother come into the kitchen, see me panting and sobbing, sprawled on the floor, pants around my feet, staring at the bathroom. I didn't even have time to wipe. Cat asks what happened and as I pull my pants up, Dad comes barging through the door. Guess he heard my screams and thought I was being befuckled by some big gurgling monkey dog bastard. He sees me on the floor, bleeding, and immediately starts yelling about how I raised that much of a racket over a busted knee. I see his fear/relief/anger and raise him the hurt and pure terror of a tween that lost a staring contest with a fucking monster. Tell him about thing I saw. He tells me and my brother to go upstairs. Don't remember much after that except that he went back out, left one of the other dogs with us, and that Cat helped clean and bandage my knee. The next day, Dad wouldn't let us go outside, but the smell was still in the house. He called our mom up to come to Springfield, halfway meet-up point, the next day. Pig was gone, about 80 pounds of exquisitely barbecued leftovers and carcass that Dad had promised the neighbor in exchange for the pig. One of the dogs was missing. Dad stayed inside with us that night, so he gave me a milk bottle and an extra blanket as a privacy tent. And that's really it. He took us to Springfield the next day after making us promise not to tell Mom. I might not have shown it very well, but he loved the hell out of us and didn't want her to stop bringing us. I was there again a year or so ago. We barbecued in his new, hand-built, smokehouse, drank, shot the shit, but the second I brought up the incident I've been posting it killed the mood immediately. All he said was we haven't been having any trouble for the last few and went back to drinking. It's worth mentioning, though, that there's another new addition to his place. A concrete slab off past the trees in the back of the house. It's not raised off the ground, and it's not very cleanly laid out. It's about 5 feet wide, 6 or 7 long, and if you kick up the dirt around it you dig up a thin layer of black shit, like soot. Now I'm not saying that he managed to kill one of the things, burned its corpse in a pit, and buried it all under concrete, but if he did, I hope it was the big gurgly bastard.